No matter where you go, no matter what you do, take that Maui style with you. Cause if you ain't Maui styling, you just living on an island. Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 There is sunshine in your heart. It's been with you from the start. Lift your head to the heavens, then you will feel brand new again. Don't stop me now, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Reach out your hand and help each other. Your mother, your father, your sister and brother. There is love in this family. Pick yourself up and get on your feet. Don't stop me now, Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Makena styling, upcountry styling, Campo styling, Kahana Valley styling, Hana styling, Waihu styling, Bahia styling, Keanai styling. Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 Maui styling, Maui styling, don't stop me now. Maui styling.
Aloha! Welcome to another Up Close and Personal in 2008 here in Maui. I have a great honor today. I'm here with sitting State Senator ROZ Baker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, you're very welcome. Now, you represent, I think, all of us wherever we live because you're in a representative body and together you decide for all of us. But you have a district, and you have a district that has areas, and those are the people that have voted. So if you live where?
In South and West Maui,
South and West.
from McKenna all the way through Kapalua. So basically the Gold Coast of Maui is my Senate district.
What a great spot.
Oh yes, I
You
have,
have the absolute vacation-focused capital of Maui.
absolutely. We have the premier resorts. We have lots of great golf courses, beautiful beaches, and you can't forget the lovely people that live in South and West Maui.
Oh yeah. That's you guys. So I'm going to ask some questions, but I hope that they are inviting you to open up and take the lead as I go, because even though they seem like separate things, they all fit together in one whole, right? Surely vacation visitors to our island are significantly off.
Yes.
And the impact on your district is significant. And also, you were also a great revenue generator for Hawaii and all of us. What do you forecast from what you see? And I know we don't have a crystal ball, but I'd like to, you have an informed vision of what's been going on, and I'd like to get a feeling for that.
The visitor industry is very important on Maui, as it is throughout our state. And I've been talking with people up and down Front Street, in Kihei, whether they're small business owners that have a cafe or a retail shop or a beverage beverage place or you're a hotelier, the number of visitors is down. And some people have even said that it's worse than after 9/11. And I think if you talk with the economists, we're looking at maybe a couple of years for recovery. So what I've been trying to focus on, talk to my colleagues about, get information from the industry is, how can we help? What can we do? Is there anything that we can do? Because right now, with the markets a little shaky, people are maybe not wanting to travel, we have to look at how we can encourage them to travel, let them know, like the Hawaii Visitors Bureau is doing now, that you can actually have a great vacation here. It costs you less than it did before, even with the increase in airfare. And trying to go after those folks that are in stressful positions, they need to get away, and what a better place to come than Maui. The other area that concerns me greatly is the way our Department of Land and Natural Resources has been handling the wedding industry. That's a mainstay for us. And the word back on the mainland is that we're just not welcoming people anymore because they're putting restrictions on the kind of beach weddings you can have. You know, and I've talked to lots of people across the county that are wedding planners, that have folks coming in, and they say, you know, we don't mind being regulated. We understand that you've got to have some order and some discipline in this industry, but you know, work with us. Let us be part of the solution and not just be looked at as a problem. I mean, these are the kind of visitors that, in these kinds of economic times, want to come. They're going to get married anyway. They've always had a wonderful focus and opportunity in Maui, and that's, you know, we need to shore up those kinds of markets and not put a damper on them.
What can we as citizenry do to give you the support that you need to be able to influence, if you want to call it, I don't know how that's done, by legislating dollars in a different way, influence those kind of things?
Well, with regard to the DLNR actions, I think it's just letting Chairperson Laura Thielen know that the wedding industry is important to Maui, it's important to the state, and she needs to work with the industry.
I hope that you out there hear that. You know, we have representatives and we think they have the magic solutions. So that's really nothing that you as a representative can do. But you, on the other hand, you have a lot you can do. Let representatives in the appropriate area know your concern and feelings. It's great. That's great advice, and I hope this puts things in perspective, you know, in all this whole election stuff.
Yeah, you know, the legislature has its role. We set policy, we authorize and appropriate money, but it's the executive branch that has the responsibility for implementing those policies and developing rules to sort of fill in the gaps, so long as they don't conflict with the policy.
Does that executive branch mean, by example, and I just don't know, that Governor Lingle could say to Laura Thielen and the wedding industry, we need weddings on the beach here. We need some kind of thing that is more open and available. I think this is too harsh a place. And what is the sword? The dollars to the budget? How do you affect change? What has that?
Well, you know, we hope that the tourism liaison, Marsha Wiener, who is a Maui girl and knows the industry backwards and forwards, will work with the governor and work with Laura Thielen to understand the impact that is being felt by the wedding industry, because this is an important part of the visitor industry, and if we're going after folks that want to come to Maui, we don't want to turn them off from coming and being part of the solution that we need. We need more visitors, and folks that are going to have their weddings are going to go someplace, and Maui has had in the past such a great reputation. I certainly don't want to see it damaged, and I think calling on the governor, calling on Marsha, calling on Chairperson Thielen is certainly a way to assist in making sure that we don't get really punitive regulations in place. Everybody agrees there needs to be a permit. Let's do a yearly permit. Let's involve the industry. Let's put in some parameters that allow weddings on the beach, but make sure that we're not overutilizing the beach. And I think there's that happy medium and that middle ground. And to me, you know, the legislature, when it goes back into session in January, can, you know, make a ruling, but it may be too late by then. We need to be attracting visitors now. We need to be looking for...
How would Marsha Wiener be? I mean, she was the head of the Visitors Bureau,
yes.
right, after Roger Dubin. We've had a long history of people that really were passionate. Now she's in this new liaison role.
And I know Marsha cares very deeply, and she's still a great advocate for the industry.
Yeah.
And I know she's trying, but you know, we just need to say, you know, get in there, girl. You gotta, you know, really stand up for Maui and this industry. And I know she wants to, but I think if she knows that that folks all across our county are concerned, then that gives her another sort of drive to go forward.
And she probably knows that the people that have all those condos rented out for tourism that now aren't going to be able to make their mortgages, the spiral effect of what can happen from us taking a back seat and not being politically active and making that call to Marsha Wiener and making that call to Laura Thielen will have an impact, and the governor will have an impact on our future. And so I want to say that I am hoping that it's the activity of all of us that are going to make a difference. You know, there's that song, "We are the world, we are the ones that make a difference and make a brighter day." If we all live here and we want this community to be vibrant and have a future that doesn't have scars from what's going on, we can lead and be part of the solution.
You know,
I know I'm a little bit excited, but I mean, there's a clear example where we can ask our officials to do things,
yes.
but it isn't the officials that can do it, it's us directing things toward those that can make things different.
That can make a difference right now. And you know, there are some longer range solutions perhaps in that area. You know, one of the things I've been looking at is, are there some ways that we can assist small businesses? You know, I'm going to be talking with the heads of all of our banks to see just what the situation is in this state with regard to credit. Because a lot of our construction, small contractors, small businesses often need those bridge loans. You know, they get a job, but they've got to go out and make the purchases. They don't have the money in hand. They go get a line of credit or whatever. And if that stuff is drying up, we've got an even bigger problem. So I think it's important for all of us in positions of authority, whether it's in the legislature or in the executive branch, to be trying to work with our local financial community to make sure that they understand, and if there's any way that, you know, they can be helpful in this regard, I know they want to be. And then need to ask them, okay, what are the things that you need from us when we go back into session in January that will make it easier to make sure that we keep the credit, we keep our small businesses healthy. And I'm looking at possibly if, you know, maybe it's 30 days or 45 days that, you know, a small business is going to be late making their tax payments. You know, maybe they don't get the penalties until they've gone a little bit longer, because we know that times are a little tough and maybe it's going to take them a little bit longer to get everything in. So, you know, I think this is the time for us to look at ways of streamlining some of our processes that we have in place for small business. You know, we want to continue the transparency, we want to have the accountability, we don't want people to take advantage of the system, but everybody's hurting right now. And now is the time for us all to come together as a community and as government and say, you know, how can we all work together? How can we get through this? Because there are going to be some tough times. And, you know, we don't want to shred our small business community any more than we want to shred our safety net for.
Which means we want all of you to remember to buy local from all our local
yes.
businesses. And when they have these Carolina specials at all these places, let's go and have fun. Let's keep our local economy thriving. And if we keep our activity here, I bet we can, with all these things together, create and continue to create that aloha spirit that's going to keep us all thriving and vibrant. And all the challenges can be put in perspective, because, you know, everything is cyclical, and we know that unless you know, the world changes are so dramatic, we are an important destination.
Yes.
Are we still we're probably still one of the top destinations in the world?
And you know, the other thing that I think we ought to pay particular attention to is, you know, let's make sure that we live and show aloha every day. Let's do those small random acts of kindness that make everybody feel better. You know, it's a tough time for everybody, but if we treat everybody with dignity and respect and we treat them with aloha, then that translates to any of our visitors that come, and it's going to just make a much more pleasant and wonderful experience for them. And then they'll go back and tell their friends, yeah, the aloha spirit, even in these tough times, is alive and well in Hawaii.
Well, I'm going to now shift. That's good and visitor stuff, but now we're getting a little local, and we're here. And, you know, I've seen over the years my ex-wife who had an opportunity. She was living in Pili, and this is a number of years already. So I don't know what your role was then. You might have been state senator in different things, or just.
I started out in the House in 1988.
Well, she was in the Pili, and you helped. There was this gulch in the Pili, in the Pili Bay, and all kinds of problems and stuff, and you get involved in all kinds of stuff.
Was that the days of the algae problems out there?
It might have been. This is between the Pili Sands and the Pili Bay condos.
Yeah.
There was this drain, and this drain was eating the land right underneath the condos.
Yes.
Had
you got it. Yeah, it's amazing the kind of issues that you get involved in. The first piece of legislation that I authored and became law was a 6-month ban on jet skis and parasails off of Maui, because that's a whale working ground. It's been challenged over the years, but it's still stood, and we still have that in place. And I think it's a welcome thing for most everyone. And the businesses that were affected have blossomed in other areas. So.
That's another thing I hear repeatedly on these shows. It's tough to make a decision that everyone loves.
Oh, you
watching
can't please everybody.
This
it's
recent
impossible.
bailout federal thing, you know, you hear the people that are voting say, well, half of the people at home or more didn't like me because of the vote I made on Monday, and now I've alienated the other half because I've switched my vote, so we'll see how it all pans out.
Well, it's amazing. You know, we've gotten calls and letters into our legislative offices asking us not to vote for the bailout. Not, I think, understanding that that's not at our level, it's at the federal congressional level. But, you know, whether you liked what the Congress did or not, I think the important thing was that they tried to shore up Main Street as well as trying to take care of Wall Street. And I guess it's going to be a while yet before we see whether they've been successful. But what happens at the federal level definitely affects us. It affects the kind of grant money that flows down to the states. It affects what goes into that Hawaii fund that pays for 80% of our roads. So we want a healthy federal government, and we want a healthy economy.
And now we're going to blow up that old advertising adage. Remember that one? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in Washington affects all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, some of my constituents live in Kihei and are very interested in the Kihei to Upcountry Highway, and so they were asking me. So I've been talking to the DOT folks, and it's Department of Transportation. Yes, got to make sure we don't use too many acronyms. But it is in the design phase. They decided that they needed to design it all before the federal government would come up with the money for it. So it's on its way. And that's why the federal budget is so important, because we need money for highways and for schools and all of the things that help us out.
You know, I keep remembering and like to remember, them is us. We're all part of it. You know, our elected officials like ROZ and others, you know, they came from us, and they came from genuine caring. And I know that when you get into a role, perceptions of things will change. I almost don't know where to start on issues. Probably I want to throw the ball to you and see what you'd like to discuss that might be an area you'd like to share in whatever ways. Can you do that?
Let's talk about the West Maui Hospital. I support the West Maui Hospital. I have for a long time. I've been active in trying to help them raise money. I've made donations myself when the issue about the use up at the Civic Center area where the hospital is designed to go in was before the council. I wrote a letter in support. It was right in the middle of our budget deliberations at the state legislature, so I couldn't get away to be there in person. And then recently I've helped with securing the lease extension for their land. So I've been doing things that I can behind the scenes to help them out. So I know there's been some rumors in the community, some misrepresentations, but I want everybody to know that I fully support the critical access acute care hospital that's proposed for West Maui. And I'm hoping that when their certificate of need application is deemed complete and the hearings start, all of which will be held on Maui, that everybody will come out and support this very important facility for the West Side.
Yeah, that's good. I know we had another hospital project, and there's been all kinds of things in the news. Give us a feeling, if you can sort of walk through that mud a little bit.
Let me say first that the certificate of need for Malulani, which was proposed for the south side, was denied. And I know that upset a lot of people, and I understand that because they were very passionate about another hospital. But they should also know that the certificate of need is an executive administrative function. It's not part of the legislative branch, it's part of the executive branch. It was the administrator of the State Health Planning and Development Agency that has the authority to approve or deny a certificate of need application after going through a variety of hearings, and based on his reading of the statute and the information presented and the items that were in the application, determined that it was not an appropriate facility. Now, the governor appoints the head of SHPDA. So it was her...
State Hospital Program.
No, the State Health Planning and Development Administration. That's what SHPDA stands for.
Okay.
And the head of that agency, who was Dr. David Sakamoto at the time, was appointed by Governor Lingle. And he's the one that was responsible for denying the application. I've heard people say, I voted against it. There was no legislative vote taken. I did not vote against it. I didn't even ask for the certificate to be denied. I raised some questions because I thought, as the representative for the South and West area, that we needed to make sure that we knew exactly what all the impacts were, that we're going to staff it. You just need all of that good information. And when it was denied, I know people were very unhappy. I did not cause it to be denied. It was an executive branch function. And, quite frankly, if the governor had really wanted to have that hospital go forward, she could have intervened in the process. She testified in favor of it, but it was her appointee that denied it. But what I did after that had happened was I was looking for a win-win situation. So through the good offices of the Healthcare Association of Hawaii, which is our hospital association here, I brought the HHSC representative, the Non-Memorial Medical Center representative, Dr. Kwan, who was representing Malulani Health Systems, together and facilitated conversations to see how we could go forward. Was there a win-win situation? Could we, if the Malulani application were tweaked a little bit, could they and Non-Memorial work together, or was there another design strategy that we could employ? Unfortunately, in the middle of those conversations, Triad, which is the financial partner for Malulani Health Systems, was bought out by Community Health, and all of their projects were dead in the water. The gentleman that had been Dr. Kwan's partner was terminated, and they just were not building any more hospitals. There was no money for it, and so the talks broke down. But I've always believed that you can have private hospitals along with a very adequate, up-to-date, quality center of excellence at Non-Memorial Medical Center. So I think you can have private hospitals and Non-Memorial doing well on this island. They just need to be crafted carefully, and I think that's the beauty of the West Maui Hospital. It fits our small community. It can grow as the community grows. It's going to have, I believe, a good relationship with Maui Memorial, and it's going to have a good relationship with Kaiser, which it has, I think, 40% of the covered lives in the Lahaina area. So it's very important that all of these institutions...
40% of the Lahaina area? Where are they? That little spot next to...
Well, they have a thriving clinic on Waimea Street, just up the road. But they're also, I understand, according to Mr. Hoyle, who's the developer for the West Nile Hospital proposed, that they're interested in the medical office building that is going to be going on that campus. So there may be some exciting things happening in that regard too. So it's really...
And the highway's coming in, so people from everywhere is going to be able to get wherever they need. Hopefully, with good attitude, we can move forward from this.
Well, one of the things that I think is so important, and what I've been trying to do, because I don't have control over almost any of this, but what I can do for all of the people of Maui County is to try to make sure that we have excellent programs, excellent facilities at Maui Memorial Medical Center. We have the most outstanding stroke program in the state. We have people coming from Honolulu to Maui Memorial Medical Center for the stroke intervention. We've just brought on a new top-notch cardiac surgeon to stand up the kind of heart program that we now have the population to support. We're not going to have to fly off or send off island people that need angioplasties and other kinds of surgeries to take care of heart. It's going to take us another year or so to get that fully staffed and stood up. But we're going to have new facilities over there. We've got a brand new state-of-the-art emergency room. And one of the things that I've been working on is funding for an integrated trauma center throughout the state. We only have one bona fide trauma center in our state, and it's Queens. Queens is at a level 2. And Queens is a level 2. We want to stand that up to a level 3. That would be the top area. We want to make Maui Memorial, which is currently has all of the elements of a level 1. We just don't call our emergency room a trauma center. But we want to stand that up to a level 2. We want to make it on par with all of the services, all of the equipment, all of the abilities that Queens probably has. So we have our level 2 here serving Maui and perhaps Big Island, Lanai, Molokai as well. It takes the pressure off of Oahu. It allows them to be the dynamic center for that island, and we can take care of more of our people here at home. To me, that's the vision, and that's what we all want to have. And we do it by getting additional funding, by changing some of the statutes, by recruiting physicians, by expanding our nursing program, by expanding the residency program at our School of Medicine. All of these things we need to put in place, and that's what I've been working on over the past 6 years. 4 years as health chair, and the last 2 years as the head of waste.
That's, it's, I'm going to jump to other things here in a minute, but I remember when I sat on TV here with Joe Suki, and we talked about negotiation and the give and take in politics to be able to accomplish things. Do you find that there's a dynamism that happens in the legislature that takes some getting used to? Or, I don't know, I wonder about that whole process.
Well, it's always, legislation is the art of compromise. Almost nothing goes through, all the way through the process, the way it started out. You can have a wonderful idea, but sometimes the devil's in the details, and you've got to sort of figure those out. But it does take 13 votes in the Senate and 26 in the House to pass anything. And so it's a matter of developing relationships and getting the facts and building consensus. Anything that's controversial is going to have a really hard time going through the legislative process, because there's a push and pull of people from different parts of the state, people with different viewpoints, people that look at things in a different way, some of it from a political philosophy or ideology standpoint. Just or from just looking at it and saying, well, that's really going to hurt my constituents if you guys do that. So can you give us an exemption, or can we tweak it another way? So it's really all about getting the public engaged, getting the experts engaged, and then trying to figure out what can you put together that's the best for the most people. And you know, you're never going to make everybody happy. And somebody once told me, Roz, if everybody's happy with what you're doing, you're probably not doing anything of significance or substance. So I guess, judging by some of the letters to the editor,
very substantive.
I'm doing something.
Any other areas that, you know, the wind is full of all kinds of things. I almost don't know what areas to look at. We have such great needs. It's always a matter in my mind of where are the dollars, where are they coming from, and how are we going to prioritize our needs and address as many things as we can, and hopefully have that long-range vision to do things now that can make it easier later.
Well, you know, the legislature has put together over the past couple of years our sustainability task force that's come up with some plans. And so that's really caused us to look into renewable energies and trying to figure out how we can really help agriculture. Because we import almost all of our food, and yet we have this wonderful growing season that you can get sometimes 2 or 3 kinds of crops, but we need folks going into agriculture. A lot of our farmers up in Kula are getting older, and so we're trying to look at ways of how can we help the small farmer, how can we help them buoy up and be larger farmers like we've seen with the coffee farm here on the west side, and how can we help them look at their niches. I was just on the Big Island. We went over to do some hearings on healthcare, and we stopped at the Agriculture Extension Agent's office, and they were trying out different varieties of teas. And they said, you know, the nice thing about this is it doesn't take a lot of technology to grow. You can process it a little differently, make premium teas, and so some of the older farmers that still want to be engaged can do this. It's a nice niche, it's high quality, it's value add, and I think that's one side to go, as well as while we're looking at, you know, making sure that, you know, we're growing tomatoes and we're growing lettuce and we're growing corn and other kinds of things that are staples. And so we don't have to be quite so dependent on imported food, but it's going to take a while for us to get there. But we got to put those policies in place now, just like with renewable energy. We've almost met our initial threshold for use of renewables, so we're looking at maybe we ought to increase it so that the pressure stays on to look at, you know, growing sustainable biodiesel here, looking at other ways of there's an interesting project in Maui, a microalgae farm that would be used to fuel the turbines at Nico.
I'm being really good because this area of my passion, the algae and what you can do in growing your own fuel.
Yeah.
Now that's the kind of stuff that I bet would really excite everyone if we can be prototype for the world. Our ability to be a self-sustained community model has been my passion since I got here in 1988. And what's the expression? It just makes me, you know, I wonder sometimes whether I could do more good in a legislative kind of a role and government thing, or whether here in the private sector doing these things.
But see, I think you do such a great service with your role here as sort of getting the issues out, piquing people's awareness
gently, I hope.
And
you know, it's like, here, I could be combative and bring up things that would be more controversial, but that isn't really the role I hope to play. I hope to play one where you can come out and share who and how you feel. To be able to, you know, it's up to you guys to listen with an open heart, an open mind, and be involved, and, you know, talk directly to your representative and make yourself known, and you may learn things that are really open your eyes and ears. It's a great experience.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about the times that we live in because of science and technology, they're just opening up many more doors. And we can grow these things, we can do these things right here. You know, we're connected via the internet, we're connected in so many different ways, but we've got great talent here on Maui and Hawaii. And now we're sort of seeing some of that come together. We're going to have a Wave to Energy project on the off the coast of Hana, on the east side of Maui.
That's a great one, Wave to Energy project.
I mean, we've got algae, we've got solar, we have photovoltaic. One of the things the legislature passed was the ability to use marginal ag grants for large arrays of photovoltaic panels as well as solar panels.
Thank God. I mean, I'm hearing these things and I'm thinking, I feel like the runway and planes have been taken off. I've been talking about these things for 20 years. I was not gray. Now I'm gray. I mean, there are other things. There's solar thermoacoustics, to use sun to create cooling in a chamber and create cooling in a tropical environment and save electricity. There's so many things we can do.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. Let's all continue on that one. That's great to hear that we're finally doing some of those things.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the things that we all want to make sure goes forward is all of the clean energy initiatives that the partnership between the legislature and the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism have come together to promote and really push forward. It's just so important because if we can increase our energy independence, then that has real impacts for our lifestyle, for our budgets, all those good things.
Can I bring up something different?
Sure.
I'd be hard-pressed as I'm talking about food to not bring up the letters, GMO, genetically modified foods, and the incredible controversies that are happening globally. You guys get into those kind of things, or is that now more in the legislature? Are you finding any clarity in what's going on there? Because there are people that are so hot on this, and I understand that I'm sure none of us want to be doing things that are, I don't know how to explain it, genetically modifying our crops, get greater yield, but creating different things that are creating problems in all of us, that make the health facilities get full.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of passion on sort of both ends of the spectrum. And I know that science has done some wonderful things in creating hybrids that have helped to feed the world and do other things. And we have some of it happening in my district in South Maui, some of it over here in West Maui. But I think it's all done in a very controlled way. I know there are people that would disagree with me on that.
I always wondered whether they do control it, because when it's out into the air, there aren't those seeds.
Well, but if you look at the crops that the company in South Maui is doing, they're all covered. So it's not getting out into the air. Now, that's not to say that there may be other situations in other places, but you know, my view can really only be what's happening here, and are there controls and are there parameters, and are they making sure that it's not
So in the
getting
food
out.
prep that we hope, obviously we're going to all be responsible. The people out there become our farmers, right? I mean, this is all of us.
Well, there's a great trend now into organic farming, looking at how we can do sustainable farming, how we can do the yields, and I think my hope would be that we can use science in a productive, helpful, beneficial way for most people, and that we can make sure that whatever is done as transparently as possible. But unfortunately, there is, in my view, an amount of junk science that's out there, because you can say anything and put anything up on the internet. I mean, there are people that still tell me that there's nothing wrong with smoking. And as far as I'm concerned, that's been proved a long time ago that not only is smoking bad for you, but secondhand smoke is bad for you, which is why I champion the measure to make our workplaces and our places of employment, our public places, work smoke-free. You know, it's just important that we don't introduce those. You know, there's been the controversy over plastics, and I think we've got to do more research. You know, we've got to fund those kinds of things. We know there are some connections between some cancers and the environment. we've got to keep searching for that. You know, that's why we've got to fund research. That's why we've got to get our kids interested in science and interested in medicine, interested in looking at the impacts on the environment. Because man is having an impact, and we want to make sure that it's all done in balance. So I think there's very important reasons to be concerned, but there's also important reasons not to panic and not to just sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak.
I understand. I know that we're going to find ourselves suddenly short on time where you're going to say, God, I wish I had an opportunity to say that. Any things that you want to be sure to share? We may not be at the end yet, but I just want to be sure that I give you a chance to share things that are important to you to share.
Well, I think the important thing is for people to know that, you know, I do care about my district. I've been on island for 28 years, and my whole career has been looking at how can we improve the quality of life that we have, how can we take care of our seniors, looking to make sure that we have appropriate caregivers, that our services are community-based, that, you know, people have the health care that they need, whether they're insured or uninsured, making sure that our community clinics, and we have doctors and nurses, and we have good qualified teachers. It's really all about making sure that our citizens have the best quality of life that they can. Sometimes we're going to disagree on the ways to get there. But, you know, I think if we work together across party lines, if we say, you know, we're going to tackle our long-term care issues, we've come up with a commission that's going to take everything and say, this is the path we ought to go, and then we're going to have to fund it. We've got early childhood education. Even in these tough times, we have to figure out how we get on that way to actually find out how we can make sure we help our children at an earlier age when they're so ready to learn, and we can give them the best head start in life.
Sometimes that may not even take money.
No.
I hope that we can be doing a lot of these things just because of who we are as a people, and we can be leaders in all kinds of areas.
Exactly. You know, we got to work with our vibrant nonprofit industry and segment in our economy. We've got to look at how we make government more efficient, how we can get rid of some of those rules that we really don't need, that are just adding to cost and maybe not really being in the public benefit and public interest in the long run. So I think there's a lot of things that we can still do. I think we've made a lot of progress, but, you know, there's always more you can do. And I try to take a look and say, okay, these are the things we've done. What else do we need to do? How can we continue to work for our West Maui community, our South Maui community, the County of Maui, and the state as a whole? Because that really is our responsibility.
What do you think? Are you happy we spent more than 3 minutes talking to candidates and going to the next one and the next one? Isn't it a pleasure to sit with someone like ROZ Baker? I think you probably had more than 3. She's been able to give you a little glimpse on who ROZ Baker is, and that's a really good thing. Any other areas? I mean, I almost don't know where to start. Transportation, water, it gets overwhelming. Over the years you've been doing this, what gives you the strength to keep doing it?
I think when you're able to know that, you know, you've helped Lahaina Luna get a much needed high school. I'm sorry, library. Kihei gets the high school. We're in the works for that one.
Lahaina Luna needs a high school too.
But their library, and working on getting them a cafeteria, working to make sure that we have healthy workplaces, and you know, we tried to diminish smoking by upping the cigarette tax, and that's gone to our emergency medical services and our trauma services and our cancer center. You know, working on things that really make a difference for people. That's what keeps me coming back, because it's not for ROZ Baker. It's for the folks here in West Maui. It's for the folks in South Maui. It's trying to improve their lives and, you know, give our kids a leg up and respect and honor our seniors. You know, when we work with folks like Kali Mahaolu and help with senior housing on the south side or up here on the west side. When we take a look and say, you know, we need that transportation that MEO provides to get folks to dialysis services or to get them to the doctor, you know, those are the kinds of things that keep you coming back. Because that gives you a really good, warm feeling to know that, you know, somehow, some little bit, whether it was as a chair of a committee or a member, you know, you advocated for the needs in your community and you made a difference. To me, the more of us that can come together, whether it's working in nonprofits, working in government, just toiling in our community, helping somebody else out, that's what makes a difference in the lives of so many people. Really makes a difference for me. That's why I keep running for office. That's why I'm involved.
Well, thank you very, very much for your service all these years and for your high visibility activity. I mean, you know, people take shots. They take shots. And although we always supposed to keep it impersonal, I know that it's an experience that I've had also. You know, it's like people will say things. I hope that all of us get a chance to look at these things and hopefully, just like anything, you make your own educated decision and come from a place of knowing and come out and reach out and touch. That's the good thing about being here on a little place. It's not hard to see ROZ Baker and stop and say hi.
Well, you know, my phone number is listed, so they can pick up the phone. They can send me an email at roz@rozbaker.com. I've got a website, rozbaker.com. So, you know, I enjoy talking to my constituents, and don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email. If we get really jammed, I may not get back to you right that second, but I will. Or I'll get my staff on it if you need some information that we can help you out with. Because we try to be of service to our community. That's my job.
Well, I hope that on election day you have an opportunity, all of you, in fact you make the opportunity to go out and exercise your right and responsibility to vote. And I hope that no matter where you live, that you take what we've said here and use it in your own lives and create more involvement. You know, I like to let people know these elections are sort of like benchmarks along a timeline, but politics and being involved is an all-the-time thing. And politics maybe gets a bad name because it's something that you keep separate from yourself, when in fact the quality of our life is really improved as we interact and be involved. Because it's the way it is. No matter who's sitting in a seat, this is your time to feel empowered and know that it goes on way beyond an election. But that's the one thing. If you get out there on election day and show how you feel, it'll be a really good thing. I really appreciate having you here. I hope that I haven't offended anyone by not talking about things or talking about things in a different way. I am really looking forward to all of us taking this time in this process, because it is an important process, and making this a better place. Thank you very, very much for being with us.
My pleasure. And take Jason's advice. Make sure everybody votes. This election is very important, from the president all the way down to the county council. Aloha.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you again. Aloha.
No matter where you go, no matter what you do, take that Maui style with you. Cause if you ain't Maui styling, you just living on an island. Maui styling, don't let me down. 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 There is sunshine in your heart. It's been with you from the start. Lift your head sister and brother.